I feel like shit.
Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days.
It's just one of those
happy days. The weekend comes, let's not go on.
It's just one of those days where you don't want to wake up. Everything is everybody sucks. You don't really know why, but you want to justify ripping someone's head off. No human contact, and if you interact, your life is on contract. Your best bet is
Knock it off, you scumfuckhead.
it's just one of those days. It's just one of those.
Happy days.
It's just one of those.
Happy days.
It's just one of those
Happy
days.
The weekend comes, let's not go on. Ready to extend.
It's just one of those days, feeling like a freight train. First one to complain, please with the bloodstain. Damn right, I'm a maniac. You better shoot, cause I'm fucking up your program. And if you're stuck up, you just locked up. Next in line to get fucked up. Your best bet is to stay away, motherfucker. It's just,
I'm losing my cool.
it's all about
Happy days.
It's just one of those,
Happy days.
it's just one of those days.
The weekend comes, let's not go on. Ready to extend.
Feel like shit. My suggestion is distance. Right now I'm dangerous. Right now I'm dangerous.
Something's happening to the bonds.
My day keeps going this way and this way.
I'm gonna pop you one so you'll stop playing games.
Give me something great. Give me something great. I hope you know I pack a chainsaw. A chainsaw. A motherfucking chainsaw.
What?
So come and get it.
What we got here is a case of mistaken identity, you know? See, now this here,
Not Robert.
Well, that's strange. I thought the wallpaper might be the star of the show, since the whole idea of wallpaper nationalism and stuff. But there you go. It's not really talkative, is it? It's like almost talking to a brick wall. But anyway, maybe a bit of a cringy start. But hey, just thought I would maybe get that, get the joke out there. So, ladies and gentlemen, good evening to you all. My name is Chief Moody, and welcome to episode 107 of the Mood of the Nation podcast. How's everyone doing this fine Sunday evening? I hope everyone's doing well. Had a pretty quiet weekend, especially yesterday. After my week-long of working, I thought yesterday, of course, I would do a bit of gardening, do a bit of cleaning with, washing up and all of that. Got all that done, and then just chilled out for the rest of the day. I think I deserve a bit of a break to it all. So, but yeah, other than that, hope everyone's doing well. I see a lot of familiar faces in the chat already, which of course is really good stuff. I did see English Rose in the chat pointing out maybe the slight lateness of the show, despite the fact being a minute late. Barbecue, do not dare start with that. I did see someone already make a comment about the wallpaper. I just thought maybe for today, the wallpaper might start off with the show because, as people in the chat have said previously, that the wallpaper itself, as very vibrant as it is, well, maybe not vibrant, that means there's a lot of color to it, but that wallpaper tends to steal the show. I thought maybe it could be the star of the show, but as you can clearly tell, it's like talking to a brick wall there. But anyway, cringe aside, I'm here now, so hopefully the show will be going ahead, of course. And also to mention real quick, as Ragnar Ironspear pointed out on the show just now, yes, his stream on this channel, which he will have a guest star of Joe Marsh, who will appear on his show later on tonight. I think the time for that will be about 7 o'clock. I actually forgot this, actually 5 o'clock today, or even just now. But yes, his show will be on at 7, and tonight's guest he will have on will be Joe Marsh, as I just mentioned just now. Of course, as per usual, I'll post a link for that later on by the time the show comes to an end. I'll probably end the show around about 10 to maybe just slightly before then, just so that everyone's all prepared to go and watch Ragnar Ironspear's show at 7 p.m. tonight. I don't think there's any other PA content going on later on this evening, from what I can gather. If there were, I'm sure Mark, Laura, or anyone else would have posted something about that by now, but I haven't seen any. So, but speaking of PA, thank you very much for PA for sharing the stream earlier on Telegram. Thanks to Jody K for sharing the stream. Of course, thanks again to Mark Collett for sharing the stream. Greatly appreciate that. So before we begin, because I actually got quite a juicy article to cover. Now, this was an article I was going to cover on, of course, the previous episodes ago. Didn't get a chance to, but I thought this would be the best article to talk about for today's episode. And I think it kind of ties into what's been going on in the country as of late, between the conflict between the Muslims and the Hindus, which I won't show any videos or anything like that at all, because I'm sure people have seen clips of that already on Telegram or Twitter, but I will touch upon that later on during the show. Maybe I'll talk about that when I'm talking about the opinion piece article I'll get into in just a short moment, because I think it does kind of tie into what we're going to be talking about this fine evening. So before I begin, let me have a look and see who's in the chat. Roscoe's in the chat with us. How you doing? Thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. I also mentioned the lovely English Rose. Thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. Rory Herbert is with us. Thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. Appreciate you being here. Let me see if I mentioned. Yeah, I mentioned Rory Herbert. That's fine. Gammon Sandwich. Afternoon. I'll be in the background lots today on shift at work right now. That's completely fine. Don't you worry about that whatsoever. Let me see. The Earl of Stairs with us. How you doing? Thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. Scaffolder John, thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. Shared on Getter. Well, excellent. Appreciate that. I'm not on Getter myself because I'm quite iffy about platforms like Getter, but I greatly appreciate you sharing the stream on that regardless. So I greatly appreciate that. Thank you very much. Ragnar Iron Spears with us. Thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. And of course, shout out to your show that will be featured later on at 7 p.m. tonight on YouTube. Like and share. Thank you very much. Steve Cray is with us. Thank you very much, Steve Cray, for watching Mood of the Nation. The Duke of Bedford is with us. Thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. Afternoon, my lords, ladies, and gentlemen. Well, afternoon to you too, Duke of Bedford. Bill Athling is with us. Thank you, Bill, for watching Mood of the Nation. Peter Walker is with us. Thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation, as always. Oh, speaking of Jody K is in the chat. I hope she's watching the show just now. Hello, Chief Really. Huge thank you for stepping in for me whilst I've been with family. Again, no problem with that whatsoever, Jody. It's important to take a break from this type of content stuff from time to time. And obviously, family does come first. So with that, no worries whatsoever. Hopefully, we'll see you again this coming week, or maybe next week. I'm not entirely too sure, but you're very welcome regardless with all of that. As I said, family does come first at the end of the day. The wallpaper lighting has improved immensely. Well, it's not too dark over here. I think it does get darker over here in Scotland around about maybe not 6 o'clock-ish, maybe 6:30, about 7 o'clock-ish, because of course we're in the middle of September now, so maybe that's the time when it does get a little bit darker then. So who else is with us? Austin Advocate, hello. Thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. Martin W is with us. Thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. Let's see. Tola mentioned your wallpaper the other night. Did he really? Oh, I need to give that stream a watch, and if that's the case, I think that's becoming like a running meme now at this point, like wallpaper nationalism. But no, that's pretty base. That if that was mentioned on his show, that's pretty base. That Mass Creation Broadcast. How you doing? Thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. No, vibrant it is. I don't hear what we're talking about. Fair enough. Peter is with us. Thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. I like watch paint dry personally. Fair enough. Kingdom of Vinland is with us. Thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. Let's see. Big running street battle has been going on weeks in Leicester between Indians and Pakistan origin. Youth media have been largely ignoring it. Well, no surprise there if they're ignoring it. I wonder why they would ignore that. Probably because it goes completely against the whole narrative of multiculturalism is good and all of that, and diversity is our strength apparently. Well, we've just showcased. Well, we just mentioned, or we just seen with like video after video, post after post on social media that clearly it just doesn't work. It clearly does not work. Aunt Sally is in the chat with us. Thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation, Aunt Sally. Chief Moody, so Scott's Armor is on at 8:30 p.m. with Sunday with the lads. Yeah, I mean, that could be a good show to watch after Ragnar Iron Spear's stream. So after Ragnar Iron Spear's stream, go and watch Scott's Armor's Sunday with the lads stream at 8:30 tonight. Who else? Let me see here. I fell short of the idea state of lurking. Fair enough. Well, you're here anyway, so thank you very much for watching Let the Wars Begin by Peter Walker. Right. Excellent. So there's 29 people watching the show already, which is pretty good numbers, I must say. So that was hopefully more people come along. As I was about to say, I've shared the stream on Twitter and Telegram and also on Gab, so hopefully more people might come along. Maybe, maybe not, but we'll see. There is actually something similar to that wallpaper in my house, but on a different color background. Fair enough. Yep, fair enough. Chief Rudy, I'm American and I hate multiculturalism. America was not. Yeah, I mean, I think America is doing a lot, like, is really bad over there in terms of multiculturalism and all of that. So. Leicester is a good example that mass immigration does not work. Yep, indeed, it's a huge example of that, Martin. Huge example of that. And finally, Mr. Dax, evening with a 07 or a salute emoji. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Dax, for watching Mood of the Nation. Right, about 11 minutes into the show already. Let's just get right into it. So, as I mentioned at the start of the show, there was an article I was going to cover about an opinion piece that was written for the Irish newspaper by the name of independent.ie. So what to do is I'm going to share the screen real quick and then show you guys this article right now. I don't think I need any like my earphones or anything like that at all, so that should be all right. Let me get myself on the screen at the bottom left-hand corner. And so here's the article written by Joy-Tendai Kangere. I hope I pronounced that right. I mean, jogger name. But the problem with this article is that you need a subscription. Like, oh no, I can't exactly read the article. Oh no, it's behind a wallpaper. Wallpaper. Jesus, there we go. It's behind a paywall, and I can't exactly read the article. Well, luckily enough, I got some help from some of the lads from PA Scotland who've actually did a bit of workarounds, shall I say, and we managed to get the article in all of its entirety on. Well, I copied like the text and I posted it on the text gangrene on a notepad here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this up just now. I wonder if I can maybe do this first of all. Share it again, right? So I've got the article here. And then I'll full screen it. Yep, perfect. Well, let me just double check on my phone if it's coming up on my phone as well. So, as what the gentleman from PA Scotland, of course, I can't mention his name because he's not a public figure, but a big shout out to him, and I greatly appreciate this because I thought this would be a great article to talk about. As it was the opinion piece, of course, was absolutely just completely ridiculous. And before I go any further, let me see if I can get this up. Of course, not mention it at the moment because I think this will be something we'll have a look into later on because this is mentioned in the article as well. So let me see if I can get this up again. Check on my phone and then we'll get started. Right. Crap, one sec. Don't know why it's acting all slowly for. Should come up just now. Sorry, just bear with me, folks. I just want to double check if everything is working smoothly for connection purposes and all of that. Oh, fuck me, it's taking forever. Right, hold on a sec. 1 second here. Right. I just want to see if it should be coming up on the screen here. Well, basically, this is still the article here in all of its entirety. From beginning to end. I don't know how they did it. I don't know how they actually got the entirety completely free, but we got it all here. And I've copied and pasted it in a separate notepad program. So, of course, we got the entirety of the article here. Let me see. Sorry, again, let me check this thing for a minute. Hold on. Right. Disconnect. That should be all right now. keep getting all these notifications coming through. I think it's all working now, which again it should be running smoothly. Is it coming up? Yes, it is. Right, perfect. Okay, no worries. Thank you very much. Right, perfect. So I'm going to read through the article bit by bit. Of course, for commentary purposes, I'm going to critique what's written in the article. Now, this is written by who's it written by again? It's of course from a jogger. Let's see here, Joy-Tendai. Well, I'll just call her Joy. Just for the sake of confusion. Well, just for less confusion, I'll just refer that the journalist Joy, and then we'll continue on from there. So let's read the article bit by bit here. So I don't know if this might go on for the entirety of the show, but we'll see with that. So anyway. Walk into any city, town, or village here today, and you will meet with people from different ethnicities who speak with the local distinct accent. They too closely relate to their communities and perish with the same pride attributed to any white Irish person at home or abroad. So why do some pockets of Irish society have difficulty in accepting this reality? So already from the first sentence or the couple of sentences here, already there's a bit of a, I don't know if you want to call it like a straw man or something like this, but she's trying to make a point about, well, you have different people from all walks of life coming to Ireland, and they're embracing the Irish culture, the history, and all of that, and speaking in the Irish accent or whatever. I mean, despite the fact that I would imagine the majority of these foreigners were still speaking their own lingo, but again, I guess that doesn't matter apparently. But the question this author is bringing up is, well, why is it that some people or many people in Ireland just can't seem to accept that? I mean, the point to make with that is that these foreigners who come to Ireland, or even say it for a broader extent, come over to Britain. Sure, there may be so in this case, maybe Irish citizens, but they're not necessarily Irish ethnically. Irish is a white ethnicity, same as English is a white ethnicity, Scottish is a white ethnicity, and Welsh is a white ethnicity. So they could be citizens within those countries, but they're not like native to the land. They're not distinctly Irish. Because even if you were to ask these foreigners, like, oh, so where are you from? Oh, I'm from Ireland. Well, that's fantastic. No, come on, where are you really from? Because everyone knows that they're not exactly Irish, especially if they're black or brown or Asian, or simply speaking, non-white in this case. So this idea that how come the Irish cannot understand this concept? Well, it's like if you were a white person being like going over to Japan or India, you can become a citizen there. You can get a passport. You can embrace the culture, embrace the food, embrace the music, and all this and that. But the native population there would not accept you as an actual Indian or Japanese person. You could be a citizen over there, but you're not ethnically Japanese or Indian. But again, this is all just part of the subversion of trying to take everything that makes us who we are and just completely subvert it to its very core. So let's continue onwards with this article. Non-white Irish people, or basically non-Irish people, have been part of the history of this country. I highly doubt that. The fact many more exported to the UK or beyond does not mean that they did not exist. Well, yeah, it's not the fact that they didn't exist. It's just the fact that they're not Irish ethnically. Irish, as I said, is a white ethnicity. So they could be citizens of Ireland, but they're not Irish people, technically speaking, in terms of ethnicity. I just don't understand why this woman just can't seem to grasp that simple, basic concept. But anyway, the vitriol that is directed at anyone who, with pride, announces their Irishness has become massively heartbreaking. As a society, we should look in the mirror and acknowledge the part we are playing in rejecting our fellow citizens. So again, this is just part of subverting what makes the Irish people who they are, and just basically tearing it down limb from limb and rebuilding it to something that it was not, that it wasn't to begin with. So the idea that the Irish is this multicultural, has always been a multicultural society, has always been diverse with multiple ethnicities and all of that. Well, it's like, well, okay, how come you never see that when it comes to India or countries within the African continent or Japan or China or Korea or any other Asian state for that matter? Again, it seems like they only do that when it comes to white European countries. But anyway, let's have a look at this further. We cannot be a country that selects who is Irish depending on how well an individual is representing us on the international stage. Yes, we can. The native population there can definitely pick and choose who exactly is truly Irish. I mean, the indigenous people of that island or of that country has a right to say that person is Irish, that person is not Irish. Same thing if you were to go to Japan, the native population of Japan has a right to say, right, that person is Japanese, that person is not Japanese. Like, it's just, race is more than just skin deep, as I mentioned before. Race has everything to do with history, it's to do with culture, it's to do with heritage, and so on and so on. This author can cope all she wants about how, anyone can be Irish as long as they have an Irish passport, they're Irish. Well, it just doesn't work like that. It does not work like that in the slightest. Even at that, those who fly with Irish flag high are not spared the spew of hate. Oh, here we go, hate. This is all based off hatred, apparently. It is high time this mentality entangled in, what is this, in begrudgery was checked, because Irishness has never been monolithic, but a complex identity interwoven by people from different countries, accents, cultures, and indeed skin tones. Right, so by that logic, should we see that the exact same thing when it comes to India or Japan or China or any other non-white nation for that matter? No, absolutely not. The native population of those countries, if you were to say that to them, hey, we want to bring multiculturalism into your countries. We want to bring diversity into your countries. The native population of those countries, especially Indians, will tell you to go fuck yourself and tell them that those people are not Indians. Or in the Japanese context, they'll turn around and tell you to go back to where you came from. You're not Japanese, and we don't want any diversity in our countries whatsoever. This, in the context of India or Japan, India is a country for the Indian people. Japan is a country for the Japanese people. And in this context, when it comes to Ireland, Ireland is ethnically a white country, historically and culturally speaking, with that as well. So at that point, Ireland is a white country. Again, the author can cope all she wants, but that is a simple fact of reality. We know that the idea that whiteness equals Irishness was debunked in the 2021 documentary The Burren Heart of Stone, where God damn, I see these words. Geneticist Dr. Lara Cassidy revealed that people who inhabited Ireland 10,000 years ago had dark or black skin and bright blue eyes. Oh fuck! Here we go. Is the author trying to use the Machederman concept or idea? This idea that, actually the original people who came to Ireland like many years ago, or 10,000 years ago, their skin color was actually a lot darker than white, despite the fact that's already been debunked. And I just don't understand why they keep using the Cheddarman as an excuse of, actually it was this, because it's all been completely debunked. It's a complete leftist lie. This ought to be a surprise in the context of a discovery by our anthropologists that the cradle of humankind is likely located in someplace in South Africa. Mpumalanga, South Africa. I hope I pronounced that right. Bill Athling, if I mispronounced that, I apologize. But now, this is quite interesting, the cradle of humankind. Because I thought maybe this might be something that I can maybe talk about. In fact, I'll get to this sentence here, and then I'll cut to the cradle of humankind, what exactly that is. The site is called the cradle of humankind because of substantial number of hominin fossils, some of the oldest ever found, dating as far back as 3.5 million years ago, were found there. and not a single absolute genetic differences between African people and those from various parts of the world has been found. Well, this is quite interesting because, again, just going back onto this real quick, I had a bit of a look at Cradle of Humankind. Now, I know this is a Wikipedia page, but I think it might be interesting to talk about this case here. So, what exactly is the Cradle of Humankind? Well, the Cradle of Humankind is a paleo fuck me, I can't even speak tonight. Polio-anthropical. It's basically a site, and it's located in about 15 kilometers or 31 miles northwest of Johannesburg, South Africa, in the Gauteng province, declared a World Heritage Site by basically the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, or the UN for short, in 1999. Now, it's interesting because go and have a look at this. The United States, or the UN, I'm just going to say that. And so what's the whole point of this? Is a specialized agency of the United Nations, or UN, aimed at promoting world peace and security through international cooperation in education, arts, and science, and culture. So I also had a look at the head of this organization, the UNESCO, for short, by Audrey Azoulay, however I pronounce that right. Now, this Audrey woman is a French civil servant, but looking through her history or early life, she was born in La Salle Saint Cloud to a Moroccan Jewish family from this area here. So yeah, so basically with that, take that with a pinch of salt. Oh, and also looking through her personal details, political party, Socialist Party. Oh dear. So she was born to a Moroccan Jewish family, and and she's also affiliated with the political party known as the Socialist Party, which is a center-left and social democratic party. It holds pro-European views. The PS was for decades the largest party of the French left and used to be one of the two major political parties in the French Fifth Republic, along with the Republicans. Well, there we go. So, yeah, I just thought maybe to bring that up. So basically, whatever this Joy woman mentions within this opinion piece, because after all, this piece right here is an opinion piece at the end of the day. Any evidence she brings up can easily been looked at as infactual or basically used as propaganda, especially when it comes to using Cradle of Humankind regarding to that. So yeah, let's move on from there with that. Yet, due to evolution, when one thinks of the Irish, the image is of a people with a fair skin, pale complexion, and the various other characteristics. Well, yeah, we've seen throughout history and culturally speaking that Ireland indeed is a white nation. I just don't understand why that's such a hard concept to grasp for this Joy woman. Because you could almost make the same argument when it comes to any other nation, when it comes to, say, like, say an African nation has always been a black nation, Japan has always been like an Asian nation, and so on and so forth. But for some reason, when it comes to like a white nation, apparently there's a lot of nuance to that idea, apparently, which is a bit strange. But anyway, similar to the evolution of the human race, Irishness has also evolved. Throughout the years, we have had Irishness being celebrated and excelling in its different shades in music, sport, business, and academia. Phil Lynott was rated the sexiest Irishman by my mama's generation. When I took her to visit his statue of Harry Street on her last visit, I caught a glimpse of the giggly teenager she was, trying to explain to people outside Ireland that there are those who feel and believe Samantha Mumba or Paul McGrath are not Irish comes as a shock. Well, let's have a look at some of these people, like Samantha Mumba and Paul McGrath. Let's have a look at these people, because maybe there might be a thing to that. Let's have a look at Samantha Mumba, for instance, right? Oh dear. Just bringing up an image. Yeah, I mean, I could see what it says Irish or a singer songwriter, which I mean that's a giant cope because again, yeah, I think you can kind of get the point there. But anyway, let's have a look at another person they mentioned, Paul McGrath. Let's have a look at this. Copy and then post it here. Paul McGrath. Let's have a look at this. Okay, so one not. Oh. So I'm assuming maybe he's biracial. Hold on a minute. Early life, Paul McGrath was found in Greenford, West London, to a Nigerian father who met his Irish mother. Right, so yeah, biracial. So I guess he would be the type of person who would not be accepted by both the Irish people and the Nigerian people because miscegenation, as we all know, is a bit of a problem when it comes to that. But yeah, anyway, yeah, it's not much of a surprise why many people would not view them as proper Irish people or anything like that because again, because of circumstances with their families. So anyway. It would appear that the stamp of true Irishness for these gifted non-white Irish was only conferred through their stardom. In 2001, then Mary Harney went on a world trip to invite people to come to Ireland. She visited countries in Africa, including Nigeria and South Africa, on a recruitment drive, which led to many citizens of those countries migrating to Ireland. I wonder if it's part of an even sinister agenda to try and replace us, but no, that's probably me looking way too deep into it. That's just my far-right conspiracy theories again that let's keep popping up. But anyway, those people have worked hard, contributed to the Irish economy, including the health sector. Oh, here we go with this whole GDP bullshit. It's great having these migrants into the country. Just look at the GDP. Well, we've seen throughout all the negative aspects of that about immigration coming into Ireland or even in Britain that it just clearly doesn't work. I mean, there's multiple factors with that, including the grooming gang scandal that occurred. What we've seen last night with the conflict between the Hindus and the Muslims. I mean, there's been plethora of examples that multiculturalism just clearly doesn't work. So again, these people can cope all they want about GDP this and GDP that, but GDP is not an excuse of it's basically a giant cope. There is no economic argument to have these migrants into the country. There's just none whatsoever. Where was I with this? They started their own families or reunited with the ones they had left behind. Some were granted citizenship, just delay. Those born after 2004 had the right removed in the citizenship referendum. Despite all these legal challenges, the invited immigrants chose to stay. They are now rooted here, and their children proudly identify as Irish. But they're not Irish, are they? I mean, they could be Irish citizens, but they're not ethnically Irish. Again, this is all just a gigantic subversion of taking everything that makes Ireland or the Irish people who they are and just subverting everything that makes them who they are. This sounds exactly like the British passport shit like all over again. Well, as long as they have a British passport, then they're British. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. I mean, they can have a British passport and they can hold the flag and they can sing their songs and embracing the culture all they want. At the end of the day, in the context of what we're talking about here, when it comes to Ireland, Ireland has always been racially, culturally, historically been a white country. You can make the same argument when it comes to Japan, as I mentioned before. Japan has always been racially, culturally, and historically speaking a Japanese or Asian country, or more specifically Japanese country. Like they can try and change that all they want, but again, it's just a biological reality. They cannot get away from that fact. I mean, they could try, but they just look like massive fools. Let me see here. Oh yeah, the image of Irishness across the world has been changing and will continue to change. Gee, I wonder why that would be. It's probably not because it's a genuine change. It kind of comes across more like a proper manufactured type of change. In fact, there's an interesting sentence here. She writes, Here we go. It does not mean that those who now identify as Irish are part of the Great Replacement theory. Yes, they are. Because again, all these politicians, all these like lefty types, when they want to bring, I mean, it's even worse over here in Scotland. But the term New Scots that keep used for these immigrants coming over here, the term New Scots. Oh well, they're just as Scottish as you and me. It's all part of the bigger agenda to try and replace the native population. So again, this sentence right here, it does not mean that those who now identify as Irish are part of the Great Replacement theory. Yes, they are. They're definitely part of the Great Replacement theory. It's not even a theory, it's just a simple fact, because more and more of these migrants keep coming into these countries. They're clearly replacing the native population of those islands. It's all part of a bigger conspiracy. Well, not a conspiracy, a bigger agenda of trying to replace the native population. It's part of the white erasure agenda that's being pushed upon us. It is a roll of honor. Christine, Buckley, Ruth Nega, let's see, Emma. I'm assuming they're meant to be like somewhat famous figures. I mean, some of them I've never even heard of before, but to name but a few, well, there you go. There are also those who identify as Irish, adding to the fabric of Irish society and who excel on the global stage, but chose to do so quietly because of fear of being othered and rejected. Well, again, that would be the case because the native people, the native Irish people, would view that and say, well, hold on, that's nothing to do with our Irish culture. You're just changing my history and my culture. Because if that were to be the case, why then is it that we have, say, critical race theory, where it basically talks shit about white people and white culture and white history? Why is it that we have to check our white privilege and basically talking smack about the sins of the father, if you will, like talking about like slavery and all this and that happened in the past? When going back to what this woman is, or the author is saying here, that, oh, well, they're just as Irish as you and me. Well, why even have stuff like white privilege and critical race theory and all of that? I'll tell you why that is. Because again, like I said earlier on, it's all part of the bigger agenda to try and replace the native population. It's not a theory, it's an actual thing that's happening. If the trends continue the way they are, then the native population will become a minority and possibly will no longer be a thing. They will become either fully replaced or become extinct and will never be around ever again. And of course, I don't want that to happen. I don't want the English, the Scottish, the Welsh, the Irish, or any other European ethnicity to be replaced whatsoever. I don't want any white person to be replaced. Same thing how I don't want any racial group to be replaced. I want every racialized group to prosper in their own nations. I think that's how a society would actually work, to be fair. Because as I said before, in the past, when it comes to multiculturalism, not only is it completely manufactured by the establishment, but it clearly doesn't work. We've seen it time and time again that it just clearly doesn't work. And I know I keep bringing this up over and over again, but what happened last night and even throughout the night between the conflict between the Hindus and the Muslims, it just goes to show once again that this whole multiculturalism, what's happening in Leicester, just clearly just doesn't work on any way, shape, or form. And the establishment and all of the people who are promoting multiculturalism and all of that, they can try all they want by coping and seething all they want about how it's so rich and diverse and all of that. But we see like that the negatives outweigh the positives. I mean, it's a simple fact with that. When Ireland is winning, those non-white Irish are celebrated with success, and the rise in prominence of non-white citizens has also come a rise in racial intolerance. Let's have a look at this then. Why was it when I'm going to butcher this name, Desonde, senior lecturer in UCC, who has contributed massively to Irish society, spoke on social media about his naturalization and Irishness, it provoked a stream of vile vitriol, hate mail, and threats. By contrast, others who are regarded as fitting in the traditional criteria of Irishness received nothing but a warm welcome to the tribe. Well, again, because Ireland, I know it sounds like I'm repeating myself here, but I think this is more for this Joy woman who needs to understand this idea. that Ireland is a white nation. It is home to the white Irish population, or Ireland is ethnically speaking is a white racial country, white historical culture country, and white culture type of country. Again, you can make the same argument when it comes to, say, Japan or India. If you were not a white person, like say if like be me or someone in the chat decides to move to India or Japan, you can do all you want. You can have a passport. You can embrace the cultures there. You can enjoy the food, the music, and all of that. You can share. You can maybe learn about the history and all of that. You can try and do everything you can to become a member of Japan or India, and then of course turn around and say to the native population there, by the way, I'm just as Indian or as Japanese as you are. The native population would not accept that, and that's all because that race and ethnicity is more than just skin deep. It's not just a case of they don't have the right skin color, because it's all to do with multiple aspects, again, including history, culture, you name it. It's more than just skin deep. It's more than just that. So there are those like me who, despite spending more than half of their lives living in Ireland, no longer mention their sense of Irishness. The reason is we fear being abused. Well, how then do you explain groups like Black Lives Matter, where again people like yourself would proudly support something like that? Which again, that's always funny to me when it comes to this overall topic of multiculturalism and all of that. So they talk about Ireland, Scotland, England, Wales, you name it, has always been a multicultural society. It's not a white nation. It's not a white historical nation or white cultural nation or anything like that at all. It's always been a multicultural society. It's always embraced diversity, and all these non-whites have contributed every facet of these societies. But then all of a sudden, when Black Lives Matter comes along, regardless if it's to do with George Floyd or what's happened recently with Chris Kaba. I know, I know that Mark Collett did a video about this on this past Friday. All of a sudden, they don't view themselves as British, or in this case, Irish. They view themselves as Black or of ancestrally speaking of any African country, which is why you always see them with the continent of Africa on their shirts. The red, black, and green symbol on their shirts and all of that. So again, stuff like Black Lives Matter comes along, actually completely destroys the overall narrative that actually these non-whites have always been part of these societies, have always been part of these cultures. Well, if that's the case, then why do they need something like Black Lives Matter? Because this is all part of the white erasure agenda. It's all about replacing the white people there. And they can try all they want talking about how it's all just a grand old far-right conspiracy and all of that. But we've seen people like Professor David Coleman from Oxford University. I know this is not an original point to me. It's something I brought up multiple times on the show. And I know many people within our circles have brought this up multiple times. But I think it does bear repeating that even he himself even said, if the trends continue the way they are, by 2060, and I know people, this is almost just in Britain, of course, and maybe even sooner rather than later, but if the trends continue the way they are, then the native population of these 4 islands will become replaced. And when I say the native population, I mean the white people. They will become replaced if the trends continue the way they are. But anyway, where was I? I think I was, I was here. I think it's just the last couple of sentences, no, maybe the last 3, so about here, right? Okay, yeah. We need to be mindful of the idea that Irishness equals whiteness has changed. Holding such beliefs will only harm young Irish people of different ethnicities and drive them away. Well, I mean, they can become a citizen, but it doesn't make them fully Irish. Again, all the stuff that this Joy woman is saying right now is just a giant cope, because it's like she knows for a fact that she knows damn fine well that that she's not really Irish. Yeah, she's a citizen, but she's not fully Irish. So this is the whole thing when it comes to these people. They realize, oh shit, I'm not actually a part of this. I'm not actually a part of this overall culture and history and all of that. And and they know for a fact that, which is why they're trying to subvert everything that makes the Irish people who they are. And it's like, well, if they themselves admit that they're not really part of this overall culture or society, it's like, why not just go back to their own ancestral homelands then? I mean, I don't know which African country this Joy may have not originally came from, but her ancestors might have came from. It's like, well, why don't you just go back to the continent of Africa? And that's probably because they know for a fact that the continent of Africa, regardless of which nation it would be, is pretty much a massive cesspit. You know, I mean, some of them live in mud huts and all of that. And she knows for a fact that she can't really benefit a lot when going back to Africa, which is why as I mentioned on the show before, they'll talk all kinds of smack about white people, white history, white culture, but they still want to use the stuff that we invented for ourselves or maybe for other people around the world. So they want to talk shit about us, even going as far as wanting to replace us, despite what they might say. But then we'll continue on using the stuff that we've built for ourselves or for other people. Really makes you think, doesn't it? Really makes you think, doesn't it? I'll just read out the last two sentences right here. There was a time when being Irish was synonymous with being white, which I mean it should still do to this very day. But of course, a fluent, I'm going to butcher this word, Gallagher, and born in one of the 26 countries to two white parents. Migration and immigration have changed all that. Well, probably for the worse. And again, this whole aspect of it when it comes to migration and immigration is all manufactured. It's not a genuine natural change that's happening across Europe. This is all a manufactured plan that's going on by the establishment. And funnily enough, that the people who are part of this establishment, who are pushing this multiculturalism stuff, tend to be the type of people who might look like white people, but they're not necessarily white, and even they themselves see themselves as separate to white people. They're the type of people, shall I say, are the types of people who have slightly big noses and they wear small hats. I think there's another thing they'll mention too, is that they say that their people should have a homeland in the Middle East, and that there's a name for that country, but that name kind of escapes me. I think it's something real. I don't know. It's in the middle of other like Muslim or Islamic nations, which of course begs the question: why is it that they would want to build a nation around Islamic countries that claim to hate their guts or anything like that at all? I can't put my name into that. I think it's Israel or something like that. I mean, I don't know. It just I had it in my head earlier on. Screw it. It might come back to me at some point. But anyway, it might be Israel. I'm not too sure. But we'll just finish off here just like right now. But I think that just maybe to add on to that, actually, just real quick, I would imagine that, again, this is maybe part of my far-right conspiracy theories or anything like that at all, but I wouldn't be surprised if those exact people might be behind this whole part of the great replacement that we're facing right now. But anyway, Irishness can no longer be viewed through the myopic lens of whiteness. Well, again, you can make it the same argument when it comes to Indian. Oh, well, we shouldn't. Indianness should no longer be viewed through the myopic lens of Indianness or sort of brownness or whatever you want to call it. But again, she's probably the same person who will turn around and say, well, actually, India is definitely a country for the Indian people. You know, it's the whole rules for thee, but not for thee type of argument. But anyway, it must be defined by the collective sense of humor with the pride we all carry on our shoulders for this small but great nation as defined by each individual who lives and belongs here. So that's the end of that article, which I know the entirety of the article is nothing but a giant cope, but yeah, there we go. I'm glad I brought up that article because, like I said before, I thought it was an interesting article to talk about, because the entirety of the article, as I just read out, is nothing but a gigantic cope from this Joy woman. And the fact that she's trying to bring up people like Paul McGrath and what was the woman before? It was Samantha... Samantha Mumba, who One is biracial, and Samantha Mumba, is she biracial? Hold on a minute. Mumba was born in Dublin, Ireland. Her father, Peter Mumba, was from Zimbabwe, Zambia, and was formerly an aircraft engineer. Her mother is Irish. So basically, she's trying to bring up two people who are basically part of miscegenation or who are biracial. So, of course, not really going to be accepted by either or cultures or races. But I mean, is there really that much of a surprise? Because, like I said before, miscegenation just really isn't really celebrated by every culture or every race out there. But I mean, especially the Indians. The Indians do not like miscegenation for that matter. But anyway, Roy Herbert, Chief Moody, my wife is 92% Irish and 8% Scottish. Her family immigrated to the USA in the 19th century, but she doesn't describe her ethnicity as American. Right, exactly that. That's a very good point, Roy Herbert. Thank you very much. Small Hats won World War II. They have occupied Europe ever since. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Also, an advocate. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Ham and Pineapple, thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. Only economic catastrophe can save us. Fucked up people in a fucked up system. Yeah. Gives you Strap, how you doing? Thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. Gaelic, or Gaelic, right? Okay. Yeah, Leicester or Leicester. I mean, again, I'm not the master of pronunciation, to be quite honest, but anyway. They are only British when claiming benefits. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good point, actually. They're British or they're Irish, when they're claiming benefits, of course. Very good point indeed. Only two kinds of people mix their blood, the ignorant and the low. For good point with that. Very good point. Right then. So, New World Order Scots. Chief Moody, the argument of workforce doesn't even work because we can use automation to fill the gaps. Yeah, of course. That very name, New Scots, implies a replacement. Yes, indeed it does. Indeed it does. Evil is at play, folks. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this is all evil, of course. We need citizenship based on race. Existence is not up for discussion, right? A country is more than GDP. Yeah, but exactly what I mentioned earlier on. Treat Wogan, Simon Davis Murphy, Heroics in 1994. McGrath is a baller, good lad. The Irish adore him, to be fair. I mean, I'm not really much of a football fan myself, so I can't. I mean, I wouldn't know really too much about that, to be honest. But I mean, if that's the case, for a point to make. Let me see here. Born in London. Oh, when it comes to Paul McGrath, right? I mean, it's different for a reason. Fair enough. A better article from a better hateful woman. Yeah, indeed. Imagine my surprise. Imagine my shock. Ah, dear. That was debunked so long ago, but even if they did have a darker complexion, they were still European, not African. Exactly that. Race is everything. Yes. Citizenship and ethnicity are very different. Yes, indeed. Very different indeed. Ugly truth. We was Irish and she. Oh, Ham and Pineapple is an original post. Good evening, Chief Moody in chat. These people are desperate. I will say mixed race people can identify as Irish. The footballer Paul McGrath is a legend. Irish is white. Yeah, fair enough. Gizzy Stripe. Jody K, the Chief doesn't sing as good as you. Good to see you back. Well, I mean, blame a guy for trying. But anyway, I think that's me all up to date with the chat. So hopefully everyone enjoyed that part of the show with the article. That was pretty much the main focus of today's show. Exile Viking, thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. Let me see. Evening Moody Doody, thank you very much. Irish is like Scottish, it's an ethnicity, indeed it is. They hate, resent, and envy whites and want us gone, indeed. Chief Rudy, do you agree that Americans are their own white ethnicity? Well, I don't know if I might have talked about this before, Kingdom of Finland, but when it comes to the Americans, and this may be a bit, I don't want to say like a bit of a gray area, but I know many people have their own takes on America. I'll definitely say this when it comes to America. Well, when I say America, more specifically the Americans, the white Americans. I think the Americans, when it comes to, or the white population in America, viewing themselves as their own ethnicity. See, the idea of America is that it's uniquely European. It was founded by white Europeans who, of course, went to America and noticed that it's of course a country in and of itself. Sorry, excuse me. So yeah, like I said, America is definitely uniquely European. I understand that there may be some people who might bring up the argument about, well, a lot of Americans, or again, who are white, they should go back to their own ancestral homelands, whether it be, say, somewhere in Europe, like Italy or Ireland or anywhere like that at all. But I mean, again, going back to the idea of the Native Americans or the Indians who lived in America, or probably still live there to this very day, but a small minority of them. I mean, look, even if regardless of if white Europeans moved to America or discovered America or never did, I mean, let's just be blunt and honest here when it comes to the Indians or the Native Americans who were there. Um, I mean, do you really think for a second that they would prosper and maybe develop or maybe evolve from what they were before they were founded? I mean, from what I've heard about with the Native Americans or the Indians who were living in America before the white Europeans came along, or the Europeans, I should say, they were still living in somewhat of a stone age. I mean, they were going through tribal warfares with each other. They didn't have a lot of equipment to what the Europeans had at that point. So there was, again, like I said, they were still living in the stone age. So, I mean, back to your question, Kingdom of Finland, do you agree that Americans are their own white ethnicity? I do agree with that fact, because like I said, America is uniquely European in that sense. So, and even when it comes to the description of Americans, you ever notice how white Americans are known as just simply Americans, and Black Americans are known as African Americans, or like Asian Americans and so forth? That's basically them saying, well, Asian Americans, African Americans, well, they're not necessarily Americans, are they? They're just African, or like Black American, or Asian, or like a Chinese American or Japanese American. But with Americans, they're of course, people would say they're white Americans, or simply white people. I might be a bit of a long answer, but hopefully that might answer your question, Kingdom of Finland. But I do agree that Americans are their own white ethnicity, or it's uniquely European in that fact. So yeah. Whitey unite worldwide. Indeed, I agree. I agree with that statement. Great show, Moody. Thanks. Well, thank you very much, Ham and Pineapple. I don't think I've seen you before, but thank you for coming along and watching Mood of the Nation. The ugly truth is white people shouldn't be in Australia, Canada, America, New Zealand. They are not originally white countries. I mean, I can see where you're coming from with that fact, but I mean, at this point in time, again, what I've talked about when it comes to America, I mean, those countries are like uniquely European in that sense. And again, before they were discovered by the Europeans, the native people living in those countries, again, they were all living in the Stone Age. So you could say maybe without us, their countries would never prosper by any means. They would still be living in some form of a Stone Age, or maybe they would have evolved a little bit, but maybe not as much to what the Europeans have evolved at that point in time in history. So again, I can see where you're coming from with that, but at this point in time, those countries are uniquely European in that fact. But that's the only me when it comes to that. They were hunter-gatherer savages and not more. Indeed, America is great because it was whites who built it. It declines as the white founder population declines. Indeed. They weren't originally countries, full stop. Fair enough. All right, then. So there was something else I was going to talk about. I was going to give you guys a bit of an update with the whole Chris Kaba story that I did talked about on the show before. But like I said earlier on, Mark did made a video about that this past Friday. So for me, it was like, there wasn't really any purpose to maybe talk about that, because everything that was covered in Mark's video this past Friday, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's like all the stuff you mentioned, I could have easily mentioned it, but of course, if you want to maybe view the full, like, maybe extent to the criminality aspect of Chris Kaba, because as I mentioned on can't remember what episode it was, but the episode where they talk about, well, I talk about of Black Lives Matter basically infiltrating the Queen's mourning, as it were, and they were trying to make it all about them and Chris Kaba, and using Chris Kaba like what they did with George Floyd, but making him a political martyr for the Black community, despite the fact they're known to be criminal degenerates. But what can you do on that fact? But yeah, but it turns out there's been Chris Kaba has gone into a lot of criminal backgrounds. And of course, everything that was mentioned in Mark's video. In fact, I might as well bring up the video just in case if people haven't seen it already. I mean, it's a bit of a doubt, to be fair, because people, I'm sure, have already seen it. But for those who haven't seen it already, let me see if I can find Mark's video, and I'll post a link for that in the chat just now, and then see from there. I'm on Odysee right now. Let me see if I can find it here. Excuse me, and then see from there. Yeah. All right, let me see if I can copy and paste that. And then post it in the chat right now. There we go. Again, I know people might have seen the video already because it's from Mark Holla, but for those who haven't seen it already, I would say give that a watch and maybe view it as like a follow-up to my episode about the whole thing with Chris Kaba, and then, you know, maybe see from there. Racial purity is Britain's security. Indeed, small hats opened America's borders in 1965. That's true. I remember seeing something about that with the 1965 Immigration Act, where a group of people decided to open the borders because they want to include more non-whites into the country. But yeah, the 1960s were a mistake. There were completely degenerate times from what I've seen regarding to that. But no, I agree. From man, there were ethnogeneticists in America prior to 1965, 90% white, Anglo-Germanic, and later Irish and Italian. Indeed. And that was a Hart-Celler Act. Right. I see. It's just my opinion, but white folk have improved them over the centuries, and the Native Americans and Maori people know it. Yeah, exactly. That's a fair point. I'll go truth. I assume Kaba's mother will be made a baroness and be given a white woman's hairdo. I wouldn't be surprised at this point, because that happened with Stephen Lawrence's mother, if I remember correctly, because they basically made her into a baroness. So yeah, with that, I really wouldn't be surprised at that point. So, because I mean, we live in the complete utter clown world, really. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Ragnar Iron Spirit, while we were building the cathedrals and writing symphonies, they were still living in mud huts. Yeah, and indeed. It's probably really why they resent us to begin with regarding to that. So, but anyway, Kingdom of England. If I lived in the UK back in the day, I would have voted for Enoch Powell. He was right. I mean, same myself. I definitely would have voted for Enoch Powell if I was around back then. I think he was definitely a man of the people. I understand that maybe there might be some aspect to it after what happened, because I think he was removed from the Conservative Party because of his very extreme views, especially even back then. But I don't know if I think he might have tried to form a party, but I'm not entirely too sure. But he should have maybe done that. If that were to happen to him, he was removed from the Conservative Party even back then. He should have maybe formed his own political party, and even then, that would have definitely changed the law of British politics even back then. But alas, he didn't. Unfortunately, So, Irish were in America right from the start. Some signed the Declaration of Independence. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think some of the founding fathers were of Irish heritage or were from Ireland. I think Benjamin Franklin, maybe I think maybe George Washington might have had some Irish background, if I'm not mistaken. But I mean, I don't know if I'm correct in this. So for those who live in America, please correct me in the chat if you can, because again, it's all just based off what I know regarding to that. But I have heard that some of the founding fathers or people who signed the Declaration of Independence were from Irish backgrounds, but yeah. So let's see. Powell became a unionist from NI. Well, fair enough. Fair enough. What was the other thing I was going to talk about? It was something I was thinking about all day as well. It wasn't just that article, of course, but there was something else I was going to talk about. Maybe, maybe I might actually pop my head, or maybe I might remember if I'll have a look through Telegram, because I think there was something I saw earlier on that I was like, oh, I could maybe talk about that as well, but. Or maybe it was something on Twitter. I'm not entirely too sure. But because I mean, the stuff that I could talk about just now, technically, I've already covered them in previous episodes. And even then, I don't want to make it like a bit of a gossipy type of bitch says on other Civ Natty type of content creators or. I've talked about them to death at this point. No point of maybe going over that over and over again. Because, well, if I may, there was one content creator I remember watching earlier this week by the name of, I'm sure people might have heard of him already, called the Quartering. He's one of those people who's pals with like Count Dankula and all of that. He talks about, like there's so much wokeness in media nowadays, and of course he talks about how cringe and gay it really is, but he never actually brings up a solution to the problem. He made a video this past week where he talks about watching the new Marvel show She-Hulk. I might have talked about that show on Mood of the Nation before, but he talks about how he's watched 5 episodes into the show already. Despite the fact he already mentioned that there's a lot of woke propaganda with the show She-Hulk, but he still watches it regardless, which only mentions the fact that he's part of the overall problem of these shows keep getting brought up over and over again. Because, like I said, not only is it promoting the woke agenda, but it's probably promoting anti-white agenda as well in these types of shows. I mean, just look at the new Lord of the Rings show that's out on Amazon. So it begs the question: well, why continue watching it when you know for a fact it's going to be bad? And that's basically because it's part of their overall grift of watching the show, because they know that's how they make their money. So they don't really care whether or not for a fact that it's damaging to Western culture or white culture or anything like that at all. As long as they talk about it and they make money off of it, then they don't care regarding to that. So Quartering is a SIFNAT, just another gatekeeper Xylo approved. Yeah, indeed. That's a fair point. The Hard Seller app was literally authored in a synagogue of Satan. I did not know that. She-Hulk, I lasted about 5 minutes before I turned it off. Fair enough. I've not watched it myself, nor have any intention of watching it. I've seen clips of that show, especially with the infamous 3rd episode, where in the end credit scene of the show, of that episode, she twerks with another lawyer, which, I mean, why? I think it really goes to show the quality of the Marvel Studios at this point, that it's basically lost all sense of quality, but there you go. Some Europeans invaded other Europeans, so we must accept unending immigration from the third world and accept demographic replacement. That's what they would normally say with that. That's what they would normally say. JFK. JFK. I think I remember hearing about JFK was Irish or had Irish ancestry. I think with America white can claim an American ethnicity as they founded the country, but they can't claim to be native. Yeah, again, that's a fair point. Fair point indeed. It's a new ballot. Let me see. Chief Moody, did you see the video of a Muhammad Khan who attempted to assault the Queen's coffin at Westminster Hall and has been charged with a public order offense? I have seen that, Rory Herbert. Yes, I've definitely seen that. Which, again, I think It really just goes to show with something like that. I mean, these people have no sense of honor whatsoever. I mean, with the Queen passing, I mean, it goes back to what I've mentioned on that episode of Mood of the Nation, that these people don't view themselves as British or anything like that at all. And they're glad. They're dancing on the grave of the Queen Elizabeth II. Now, I know many people in the chat will have their opinions on the Queen and the monarch and all of that. Believe me, I have my own opinions. I think they were completely useless and did absolutely nothing for British society. They did absolutely nothing when it comes to these third worlders invading the country. But again, it's all about that respect and honor of the dead type of idea. And the fact that these non-whites are doing that, again, the road just goes to show that these people are not really British, or even they don't see themselves as British. So, I mean, it's a shock. I mean, I wasn't really that shocked, to be honest, when that whole thing happened, because I knew for a fact something like that would happen at some point. So the fact that some Arabic or like Muslim type of person would try and do that to the Queen's coffin, I mean, is anyone really that surprised? Especially it was perpetrated by a non-white at this point, so not really that much of a surprise, really. Created by this is the name of She-Hulk, created by Tran Lee. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at that myself, but yeah. I want to check on Twitter actually just to see what's mentioning there as well. Because maybe what I've seen earlier on, maybe it was mentioned on that show or that platform. Hold on a minute. I keep getting a lot of notifications on Twitter, but yeah, that's cool. What about Gab actually? Let me check that for a moment. Oh, and the good thing about it too, I've also realized is that I'm off work for the next 2 days, so I don't get back in on Wednesday, which is good. So any ideas I'm going to have for future episodes, I'll definitely see if I can do a bit of research and then see from there. I've also in works of an article I'm writing for the PA website, so we'll definitely post that at some point and let you guys know when that's coming out for the website, and that's going to be interesting. Because the last time I wrote an article for the PA website was maybe a few months back, I think. It was before the PA camp, I do know that. So yes, I'll definitely write an article for the PA website again. I definitely have a topic I want to maybe cover about that. Wait, what is this? I don't know what this clown is absolutely doing. This is a video, actually. Maybe I'll watch the full thing before I showcase it on the show, because I don't want it to be graphic or anything like that at all. But
I got that.
hold on a minute. Let me also mute that just in case. No, it's nothing graphic, but it's a bunch of, like, of course, non-whites being completely obnoxious. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you guys this video. This is from a Twitter account by the name of I am yes, you are no. I don't know if some of you might follow this account already, but let me just show you this for a moment. Let me see here. Jojo Gizmo, real quick. Chief Rudy, are you in the hashtag BritFam group on Gab? I am not, no. I've never. I think that's the first time I've heard about that. So I don't know if maybe if you're like an admin for that group on Gab, but if you want to add me there, then that would be great. Or I don't know if I can maybe get a link for that, maybe add myself into it, or I don't know how it works. But if you want to add me to it, or maybe something of like, then that would be great. Well, let me just go back onto here. I want to show you guys this video here. This is actually quite a good Twitter account. Well, for those that still have a Twitter account, if you want to see examples of anti-white content, or at least white people being treated badly by these non-whites, then this is a good account to follow, because again, it really goes to show just how bad the situation really is when it comes to white kind. Again, this Twitter account is called I am yes, you are no. And this clip right here is about 44 seconds long. It's just a bunch of non-whites acting incredibly obnoxious. I think this is in America. I'm not sure what state this would be, but let's give this a watch and then see for yourselves. So let's see if it plays here.
Whoa!
So they're on their bikes. They're basically trying to do like a game of chicken or something like that. I mean, just acting like a bunch of fucking arseholes. I mean, look at this. And again, folks, these people are supposed to be oppressed, by the way. These are the oppressed people within America. It's a fucking joke, that. I mean, just look at this. Like, what bunch of obnoxious fucking arseholes. And that's that. So, yeah, I mean, I mean, once again, these are the oppressed people living in America, but... Oh, for God's sake, Steve Shaw. Dear. I've seen them doing that shit like that in Leeds. Well, I mean, yeah, well, there you go. It's not just in America now, is it? It's all over across Europe. So it's just really just absolutely like arsehole behavior. It really is. But then, of course, when I can just picture it right now. If it were to happen, say if they get confronted with behavior like that, then all of a sudden that they would be the victims. Like, oh, you're just oppressing us because we're black, you know, all of that. It's like, fuck off. Sending red pills on their bikes to white Americans. Yes, indeed. It's a good point, Bill Athling. It's a very good point. Let me see. Stolen bikes, no doubt. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, but what's this? Freelancer crime photographer, part 1. Another drill rapper, another knife. Famous YouTube rapper K1 caught carrying a knife in London's Oxford Street. The gang was making a music video when police swooped on them to search them and found drugs and a knife. Don't know if I should maybe show it. Let me just have a quick look at this. Nah, maybe not. I'll try it just in case. Could maybe give this a little look. So sobering scene from Last Rites of the East End as 19-year-old widow Eileen prepares to move out of her lifelong neighbourhood in London, as she is now one of the few remaining native English residents. So let's have a look at this video. It's about 2 minutes and 20 seconds long. Let's have a look at this real quick.
Takes the little boy to school.
Hold on a minute.
Yes. It's been nice living here, though. Used to be lots more of us than what there is now. The family downstairs is Somalians. She's lovely. Sometimes she posts letters for me. And I put it through the window at the bottom of the stairs, and she picks it up on her way out when she takes the little boy to school. They're very kind family.
Eileen and Albert raised their family here, but one by one they all left the East End.
Andy lives in Somerset, and David lives in Luton, and Lynn, of course, lives in Norfolk. That is why I have to move, because there's nobody here belonging to me, keep their eye on me.
With her health deteriorating, 90-year-old Eileen is moving to Norfolk to be nearer her daughter.
And I was talking to one lady called Lily at the club. She's a little bit older than me. She's 91 now. I was saying something about moving, and she said, "You don't want to go, really, do you?" If I let myself think about it, I don't want to go.
The life that we know is finished. Don't you agree? Yeah. And that's true. Newham has got the biggest immigration population in this country for the size
There's
of what it is.
147 languages
Yeah,
in Newham.
That's right.
We've lost our community. We're foreigners in our own country now. When you're on a bus, I mean, Eileen and I were the only 2 white people on there this morning.
We were the only two.
If I could just we're coming towards the end of the video, but I just want to even just mention what that woman's just said there. Even the older generations, the older people, and I know this might not be an original point. A lot of people in our circles have mentioned this before, but even they can see the demographic changes, that they're basically the last of their own native English speakers. They're definitely seeing the change, and obviously there's something that they not really too much like fans of. Of course, understandably so, but the younger generation, this is all being programmed into them that multiculturalism is great for everybody. But of course, we just showcase some of the videos, whether it be this video or the past video or anything like that at all, just showcase that diversity just clearly doesn't work. And I feel really bad for these women, because obviously they grew up in a time when there was a lot more, say, a lot more white people living in those areas, because it was more of a white majority, like city. But nowadays, it is a shame when it comes to like native Londoners, because London, as we talked about before, is really no longer an English city. It's really a multicultural state, or city, if you want to call it that. And it's a shame too, because like London used to be quite a thriving city, but now it's filled to the brim of like knife crimes and gangland culture and all of that, and it's a shame. It really is utterly disgusting what's going on over there, and I feel bad for these old women, especially the old woman here, Eileen, who has to move out of London because it's really no longer the city she once knew, and she has to live near some of her family members. In fact, even it says there that she has to move in closer with her daughter, which, I mean, again, this is all part of the term white flight. So when it comes to white flight, I know this is something people know about this already, but the term white flight comes from the idea of white people living in cities, especially in places like London or Manchester. In a specific area, has become so less majority white and become more diversified and more like non-whites coming into those areas, and of course crime increases and all of that, and the white population moves out of those areas to be with a more white majority area, or whether it be another city that has, or another town or village, or even countryside for that matter, that has a white majority type of area. And that's where the term white flight comes around, and I think it does tie into what we're seeing with Eileen here just now. So anyway, we'll just finish off with this clip, and then we'll move on to something else after that. So, actually, hold on a minute. Let me just see if I don't know if I'm actually sharing the screen. I've not shared the screen. Damn it! Sorry, my bad. Let me just do this real quick, and then see if I can get this up here. Yeah. So I'll just go back to hear from a moment in terms of Eileen, and then I'll play after that if you guys want. So this is for you guys, because I didn't share the screen, so let's have a look at this.
Luton, and Lynn, of course, lives in Norfolk. That is why I have to move, because there's nobody here belonging to me. Keep their eye on me.
With her health deteriorating, 90-year-old Eileen is moving to Norfolk to be nearer her daughter.
And I was talking to one lady called Lily at the club. She's a little bit older than me. She's 91 now. I was saying something about moving, and she said, "You don't want to go, really, do you?" If I let myself think about it, I don't want to go.
The life that we know is finished. Don't you agree? Yeah. And that's true. Newham's got the biggest immigrating population in this country for the size of what it is.
147 languages in
Newham.
Newham.
That's right.
We've lost our community. We're foreigners in our own country now. When you're on a bus, I mean, Eileen and I were the only two white people on there this morning.
We were the only two, and it was chock-a-block full.
To Canning Town.
It's murder.
And there we have it. Let me just go back onto here real quick. So again, I do feel bad for like Eileen and any older like white generation still living in that area. But of course they're now moving out because, well, partly because they want to move closer to their family members because they're getting a lot older, which of course is understandable. But I think partly to do with that, even they said it in that documentary that they feel like it's not really an English city anymore, which I mean is understandable. That why they would feel like that. Because again, London used to be a thriving city that's a white majority city, but now it's really no longer an English city. And even as I talked about before, John Cleese talked about how it's no longer an English city, and of course he got a lot of flack for that. Indeed. I'm probably lucky as I live in posh bit of town. Probably should change in the next 10 years. Probably. I mean, we don't know that for sure, but I mean, if that were to happen, it wouldn't be that surprising at this point. Rory Herbert, real quick. Chief Mooney, when I lived in the East End of London in the 1980s, I was told stories of how the local dock workers would defend the bridges to stop a certain tribe from dating their daughters. I see. There we go then. Let me see. But of course, I would imagine all of that's completely changed now. So, there's this idea that we must embrace multiculturalism and all of that. But anyway, from man, I feel bad for saying this, but it somewhat pleases me to see that boomers are seeing the fruits of their failed liberal democracy worldview. They are complicit, but by not fighting for us sooner. I mean. I can see where you're coming from with that because obviously there is a sense that maybe there's a bit of a realization from these people that hey, maybe diversity and all of that actually doesn't work, and it's actually making them a lot more uncomfortable. But I don't think we should necessarily blame these people. I think that the problem with it, I think Bill Athing even says it best in the chat that they've been fed a lie from the establishment that multiculturalism is the greatest thing ever. We should embrace these people with open arms. But as we've seen throughout the years, even recently up until now, that these people are becoming more aggressive, more violent. They're committing more crimes and all of that. But no one's really saying or doing anything about it. They're just basically giving everything on a silver platter. But it's never really good enough. And even going as far as to say that they want us to be replaced in any way, shape, or form. So I don't think we should necessarily blame the boomers in this case or anything like that at all. But I think what we should blame is the lie that they've been fed for many, many years. That lie is being fed to the younger generation now. As I said, that like multiculturalism is a good thing and all of that. Multiculturalism is a failed experiment. Indeed, it is. RPL, indeed, it is. That's basically the core gist of it, of what we're seeing at the moment. Not everyone can find the truth and need a vanguard. All we can do is to continue in positive activism and good optics. Indeed, Bill, I agree with that. Indeed. Hardly full of Eastern Europeans. I would imagine they'd be like Polish and Hungarian and all of that. So, but yeah. The normies are being brainwashed. Yeah, indeed. Telford next. The people in Telford already fled Birmingham and Wolverhampton. Where's next? Yeah. It's getting a lot worse by the day. Hello, Hightower. How you doing? Thank you very much for watching Mood of the Nation. Let me see here. Trying to think, was there anything else to maybe cover? Because it was that article. Maybe there was a couple of things that maybe mentioned, but that's really it at the moment. What time is it? It's about 6:30 at the moment. So I'll probably end this. I'll give the show another 15 minutes before I go, or maybe another 20 minutes before I go. So maybe the last 15, maybe 20 minutes. If people have any questions in the chat, if they want to ask me a bit of a Q&A type of thing, then just feel free to ask me any questions. Just type in @ChiefMoody and then ask away your question, and I'll be happy to answer it. Be any question you would like, and then we'll we'll see from there. So, so far, I hope everyone's enjoying the show tonight. It was really just to cover that article, maybe talk about what anything else that maybe if someone maybe asked me a question that might remind me of what I was going to talk about earlier today. But anyway, besides that, I hope everyone has enjoyed tonight's episode, and then I'll be back. I don't know if I'll be back on Tuesday, or maybe Jody will be back then, but if not Tuesday, I'll definitely be back for Thursday, and then we'll see from there. Maybe it's been a while, but I might bring a guest on the show, but maybe we'll see with that. So, because the last time I brought people on the show was for the 100th episode, so that was Joe Marsh, there was Mark Collett, St. Harrison, and Cyborg, but he was on it just for a little bit. And I'm trying to think who else was on that show, because I think there was like 5 people that were on the show, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on a minute. That's good. I'm in that mood of the nation. From our pal Chief Marie, what's your favorite color? I think someone already asked me that one time, but I mean, if I had to pick a favorite color, I would say probably like red would be my favorite color, to be honest. Because my opinion on my favorite color tends to change over time. So, but I think for now, my favorite would be maybe red. Red would be my favorite color, I would say. Hold on a minute. Let me check something here real quick. 100th episode. Who was on the show? Cyborg, Joe Marsh, Mark Collett was on there. St. Harrison, I know, was on there. I think that's pretty much it. I thought there was more people than that, but no, it's not because of that. No, not because of like the communism or anything like that at all. Let me see here. What's the color of haggis? Well, I think it's maybe a mixture of colors, I think, because it's from sheep's guts, if I'm not mistaken, or inside sheep's. But I think it's maybe like a darker brown with maybe a bit of white on it. Tartan. I only joking. I know you are, Arpa. I know you're only joking. Yeah, better dead than red. Let's see. Let's see here. Great. Yeah, when it comes to that, but no worries. Nowhere to go now. We have to make a stand where we are. Indeed, I agree with that, Steve Shaw. I deeply agree with that. Anyway, I just did a Cyborg. Anyway. Roy Herbert, Chief Rudy, isn't your favorite color tartan? I've never really given that much of a thought, to be quite honest, but I mean, that would make sense considering, I'm Scottish, but I mean, no, I'm tend to be more basic than that, like a basic bitch type of thing when it comes to favorite colors. But no, I think for now, because like I said, my opinion on color, I know it may be a minor thing really with that, but my opinion on colors or favorite colors tends to differ over time. But I'll just say for now, my favorite color would be red, to be honest. And it's not because of the obvious fight, but because of communism. It's nothing. It's fuck all to do with that. It has absolutely nothing to do with that. So that's your favorite color. Yes, indeed. Indeed. So white, of course. Yeah, I could see emerald green. I could see that. Yeah, indeed. Chief Rudy, Saltire or Rampant Liar? Oh, that's a good question from Gamma Sandwich. I'll answer that, and then I'll answer Bill's question at the moment. Saltire or Rampant Lion? That's something I never really gave much of a thought before, but that's such a other than that here. I see what you mean when it comes to the right. Hold on a minute here. Let me compare the two actually. Which ones do I actually prefer? The original, the Saltire for Scotland flag, or the Rampant Lion or the Royal Banner with that? I think if I had to pick one of the two in terms of the flags, I think that the Rampant Lion would be my personal favorite. It's just I just kind of prefer that flag, to be fair, because I think it's mostly to do when it comes to Scotland in terms of like the national animal that represents the country. So you know how with Scotland our national animal is the unicorn, which I've always wondered why, because the unicorn is not fucking real. But I mean, that's something that definitely needs to change in terms of like national animal that represents the country. I know that I think England's national animal is the lion, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, it has to be something other than a unicorn. I mean, who the fuck thought it was a great idea? Oh, let's have the unicorn as our national animal for Scotland. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, nothing like maybe like a deer or an elk. You know, something that would make a lot more sense. But no, let's pick a fictionalized type of horse like the unicorn. Oh, we're so we're so completely original that way. Like, fuck off. Nothing, something more masculine like a bear or something like that. You know, something that would maybe strike fear when it comes to that. But anyway, the rampant is a royal banner. I've just had a little read with that. Now, I mean, yeah, with the royal banner, but I think I do prefer the rampant lion flag when it comes to the royal banner for Scotland. I kind of do prefer that, to be quite honest. Anyway, to answer Bill's question he asked earlier, isn't your favorite color tartan? I don't think I've actually said that before, but yeah. So Bill Athwin, what clan are you, Chief Pretty? Well, the clans are all to do with like the last name. So hold on, I think I would be part of this clan. Hold on a minute here. Yeah, that's to do with like the last name. So I mean, if I had to say when it comes to what clan I would be in, my clan would be the Thompson clan. So I'll just say on the show again. My name's already been doxed anyway, but my actual name is Stephen Thompson. Stephen with a PH, Thompson without a P, and the clan I would be in would be the Thompson clan. So if I can actually read a little bit of this just now, but the surname Thompson is passed on to the next generation by taking the father's first name and added son on the name, of course. So is Thompson a Scottish clan? Thompson is a Scottish surname, or meaning son of Tom or Tomkin or other versions of Thomas, itself derived from the Aramaic for Tom, meaning twin. The Welsh surname is documented in Cheshire records before and after the 1066 Norman conquest. So there we go. So yes, I would be in the Thompson clan regarding to that. So, which I think the seal, or like the symbol for the clan is like a boar or like a warthog or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, hold on, let me just have a quick look at that. Because it's a form of a pig, if I'm not mistaken. Let me have a look at the crest for Thompson. Well, hold on 1 second here. Details. Motto. Never forget not. A crest, a boar's head. Yes, it's a boar's head. Yeah, so that's pretty based. I will say. Have you got any tartan paint? I think there is a tartan paint for Thompson. Well, there's two kinds. There's the Thompson Hunting Ancient Tartan, which looked more, if I might come up on the screen like this. I don't think it might actually do it justice, but it's like brown, dark brown, sometimes black, and maybe like green lines with it, maybe an aqua blue. And then that's the ancient tartan, but then there's the modern. The Thompson dress modern tartan, which is more like this. Again, I don't know if that might again do it justice, but that's the modern tartan when it comes to the Thompson clan. So the colors consist of multiple like blue, red lines in that case. Maybe it's black, white lines, yellow line as well for the middle cross. And again, that's to do with like the modern tartan regarding to that. But yeah, so there you go. There's a bit of Chief Moody lore again when it comes to that. But anyway, boars are base. They are pretty base, I will say. Yeah, Thompson, great name, Chief. Well, thank you very much. I think this is derived from different parts of Britain. Like, I think the Thompson without a P, which is my last name, that's the Scottish way of spelling it, if I'm not mistaken. The one with a P, that's more English, whereas I think the Welsh version is instead of an O for Tom, it's like an I for Timson or something like that. Chief, pretty glad to hear that it isn't the Blair Tartan. Well, there you go. Matches your eyes, Chief. Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Scots have Irish ancestry via the Gaels. I think I remember hearing something about that. Yeah, I remember that. I've said this before. To me, you're just Chief Moody, regardless of the doxing from those left-wing fist of hate not hope. There you go. And they're the last people I will give any credibility to. Well, there you go. So, yeah. The Iron Brew clan. I wish, to be quite honest, but isn't Scotland's national animal the haggis? Again, I actually would prefer that over the unicorn any day. To be quite honest with you, regarding to that. So, and a thistle for a flower. Yes, indeed, Scotland forever, part of Britain. There we go. With regards to clans, I ask as until I dated a Scottish girl many moons ago. I had no idea that different surnames belong to larger clans like MacDonald, etc. Yeah, I think it's partly to do with that. I mean, it's not really much of a thing nowadays, but it's all part of like Scottish history when it comes to that. I know my granddad is very into Scottish history, especially when it comes to clans and all of that. I remember having a conversation with them back and forth about our last name and all of that, and our family background and such. I think, if I remember correctly, I think there's a bit of it's mostly Scottish from what I remember. This is from like my mum's side of things, so half of it is Scottish, half of it is also to do with like an English background, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if that might be the case. I've even asked him at some point, was there any like religious background? Because when it comes to Scotland, especially if you go to parts of Glasgow, because I know that's quite a sectarian hub when it comes to Catholics and Protestants, I've asked him, even though we're not entirely a religious family ourselves now, but was there maybe some like religious background to our family's history? And what he has said to me that predominantly our family has been predominantly Protestant, despite the fact my grandmother, or my nan, I would call her, she grew up Catholic. I don't know if she was like baptized, but she doesn't go to church. I mean, she does. It's a bit weird because she does believe in some form of a god or an afterlife, but she grew up more Catholic. I don't know. She doesn't go to church now, but she does believe in the religion. It's kind of weird because she does. Because I never grew up in like a religious household or anything like that at all. My granddad grew up as an atheist, and my nan does believe in an afterlife, but she wasn't a fully religious person herself. Although she grew up like Catholic and all of that, but my family's history, from what I know, is that at least from my mother's side, has been more Protestant. I believe it. I think even my dad's side of things have been more Protestant as well. Because I remember going to, when it comes to the like football years. As I said before, I wasn't really much of a sports person, nor was I more of a football person. If it was a national game, like say like a Scotland game, I'll give that a watch. But I've never been really like a specific club supporter like Rangers or Celtic. Despite the fact my dad, when I was a wee lad, he would have me wearing a lot of like Rangers tops and all of that. And I remember when I was a teenager, I would maybe jokingly say that, "Oh, I'm thinking about maybe supporting Celtic," all of that, not realizing about like the religious or sectarian aspect of it or anything like that at all. And he was like, "If you become a Rangers fan, I'll disown you," or something along those lines. But yeah. So anyway, so I think the full Scottish attire is very striking. It can be, yeah, regardless of which clan it originated from. So, but yeah. Anyway, The Deep Fried Clan. Be proud of the Unicorn Chief. No, it's not. The unicorn is not really a masculine type of national animal, is it? I mean, well, it's not real for one thing. So, lots of the Highland clans are of Norwegian origin. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I do remember that. Something that was being brought up at some point. Just found out I'm closely related to Oliver Cromwell. That's interesting, Toby. Well, let me have a look at Oliver. The name rings a bell, but 1 second here. Cromwell. Oops. Oliver Cromwell was a member of the landed gentry from Cambridgeshire who is widely regarded as one of the most important statesmen in English history. He came to prominence during the 1639 to 1651 Wars of the Three Kingdoms, first as a senior commander in the parliamentarian army and thereafter as a politician. Well, there you go. Interesting tidbit there from Toby Radley. Thank you very much for that. I went to a lot of Oldham games as a teen. Fair enough. Please feel welcome to like the chat and help the channel. Yes, indeed. Thank you very much for pointing that out, English Rose. Thank you very much. Indeed, I think that's up to date with the chat and with this case. Right, and what time is that? Just past 1:45. Right. Let me see if I can get link for Ragnar Iron Spirits' stream, and then when the time comes, everyone definitely should head over there because Ragnar Iron Spirit will be live with his guest tonight, which will be Joe Marsh. I've got 2 notifications on YouTube. Let me have a look at that. That's just nothing. It's just to do with Dangerfield. I think he's live at the moment, so that should be fine. Right. Ragnar Iron Spear. Let me see if I can find his stream later on. Oh, there we go. Rags and Joe Marsh scheduled for the 18th of September, which of course will be at 7, which will be tonight. There we go. Copy, and then I'll paste that link in the chat just now. So that will be the link for Ragnar Iron Spear's stream. Where in that stream, as I mentioned, he will have on Joe Marsh as a guest for tonight. That will be something I will definitely be watching after the show tonight, of course. His sister was my 10th great-granddaughter. Oh, that's interesting, Toby. And again, very interesting with that indeed. I really need to have a look into my family's history a lot more, especially when it comes to DNA tests and all of that. So that will be interesting. And with that, folks, I think I will end the show tonight. So I hope everyone enjoyed tonight's episode, and definitely check out Ragnar Iron Spears' stream at 7, which will heal up Joe Marsh again. At 8:30 tonight, check out Scott's Armor stream with Sunday with the Lads. I want to see if there's a PA show tonight. I don't think there is. I don't think Mark or anyone from PA has posted anything about that whatsoever, whether it be PA Book Club or Film Club or the Nationalist team or anything like that at all. I don't think anything's like that going to be live tonight. So if not, then yeah, head on over and watch Ragnar Iron Spears' stream at 7 p.m. and then check out Scott's Armor stream at 8:30 tonight. Now, with that, folks, as I said, I hope everyone has enjoyed tonight's episode. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, please like the stream, give it a like, put it in your favorites if people still do that. I don't know if that's an old YouTube thing with that, but another thing too, as well, is this is something I almost forgot to mention on the show. You might see a pinned comment in the chat. Maybe you crossed it out or whatever, but there was a pinned comment within the chat, and you also see it again in the description down below. If you want to support me financially for future episodes, future videos on my channel, or even helping me out with when it comes to activism, you can feel free to send any donations to me through PayPal directly or through my Ko-fi page. That is, of course, if you want to support me financially with that. You don't have to if you don't want to. The option is there, basically. You can donate to me through Ko-fi within the pinned comment or even in the description down below, or you can even just donate through PayPal directly if you want to. Any donation I receive would be greatly appreciated. And if don't donate to me or anything like that, again, that's completely fine with that. The options there, as I said, regarding to that. So there's all my social medias. If you want to follow me on there, if you haven't done so already, you can follow me on Twitter if you're still on Twitter, of course. Even I'm surprised I'm still on there, but you can follow me on Telegram, you can follow me on Gab, and you can follow me on Instagram. I mean, again, if you have Instagram with that. But anyway, I hope everyone has enjoyed tonight's episode. And I'm not too sure if I'll be back on Tuesday. I don't know if Jody will be back officially on this coming Tuesday, or maybe she'll be off another week or so. But I'll keep you guys updated with that as well. But even if Jody will be back for this coming Tuesday, I'll definitely share her stream when the time comes. But I will definitely be back on Thursday at 7:30. Whether I have a guest on that stream, I'm not entirely too sure. But I'll keep you guys updated with that, of course. And yeah, that's going to be it for tonight's episode. I hope everyone enjoyed this stream tonight. And I will be back for a future episode. And please head on over to Radler Iron Spears' stream at 7, where he and Joel Marsh will be on the show. And then check out the Scottish Armour stream at 8:30 tonight, just to mention with that as well. And yeah, that's going to be it. I'm just going to see if I can find an outro song for tonight's episode, or what song. Actually, I'll let the chat decide from there. Anyone in the chat, any song recommendations I should play for tonight's outro? I never usually ask the chat this, but I'll give you guys a bit of ideas of what song to play us out with. And then anyone that picks my fancy, I will pick it for the show. And then anyone's song I don't play, Hyrith, yeah, good shout. I mean, I may have played her songs before, but maybe there might be a song I haven't played on the show as of yet, but we'll see from there. Lion and the Unicorn, keep in mind. All right, okay. Sec. I mean, might as well. All right. Let me see here. Yeah, all right. I might as well just play it. Why not? Yeah. It's pretty much like a go-to thing or go-to song for the show, but I'll just play that just for now. So, and everyone else, thank you all very much for watching. I will be back on maybe Tuesday, but I'll definitely be back on Thursday. I'll keep you guys posted with that. Or just before I forget, I tend to forget this towards the end of the show. Support Patriotic Alternative, of course, and I'm not gonna sing, Toby. I'm not gonna sing. I'm not on Jody's level or Hyrith's level or anything like that at all. So, anyone, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much for tuning into tonight's episode of Mood of the Nation. Thank you all for watching. This is Chief Moody signing out. You've been watching the Mood of the Nation podcast, and I will see you all in the next episode. Take care, stay safe, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening. Thank you, and good night. Take care.
Yes, we want to be free, live our lives as they should be. Here's the thing, well, that's nice. Every action has a price. We're meant to be much more than this, and find a home which we all miss. So it's time to grow up as we're ticking down the clock. Forever keep in mind to learn from those before. Our future made secure. We were meant to survive, to transcend, go forth and thrive. Find the light, leave behind all the things that made us blind. It's up to us to show the way, to hold the torch, come what may. We will do all we can till time's not running through our hands. Forever keep in mind, we're fighting for our kind, to learn from those before. Our future made secure.